Well, we're live. I believe we're live here, episode 13 of Turn Back the Clock. Adam from Splendid Sports, joined as always by Dylan from DoubleD Vintage Baseball Cards. How's it going, Dylan?
Good, man. Stoked to be here and talk about some baseball cards. I going live. This is sick.
This was a little impromptu live. About an hour or two before, we were going to do this, but I said, hey, man, you want to just do it live? I don't know why. I just felt like I don't know how many people actually even joined the live here because it's kind of getting late on a lot of parts of the country. So, but we just figured we'll do it live. We're gonna talk about a couple different topics tonight. One being rarity in sports cards, and they kind of, all these questions that we'll pose kind of go together. It's a sort of on the same theme as far as like types of collecting, ways you can collect. People do it differently. Some people collect only low pop rare cards or manufactured rare cards that are modern. Some people collect, obscure vintage cards. Some people like the mass appeal cards that are more common, that are more iconic. So we're going to talk about our thoughts and opinions, what we do. And I wanted to actually, before we get started, Dylan, do you want to show like a pickup or two before we get into any of that?
Yeah, and I have a couple pickups and a pickup that kind of relates to what we're talking tonight as well, which is kind of cool. Right. First one is not related at all. It's a downgrade upgrade, and I have been hunting for this card for a year now. It's on my want list, and finally one came across, and it's just about, perfectly centered, maybe not perfectly, nothing's really perfectly centered, but very well centered. Eddie Murray Rookie Cup rookie card. I have this in a 7, and my 7's really far off centered. So I got this 6, really inexpensive. I don't know, $35 or $40 or something. It was, no one else bid on the card. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that thing's cherry. So really stoked, got that bad boy. And now I can sell my 7 that I don't like to look at on my wall anymore. And then I also got another card here. I've been collecting Angels cards and of certain players. And this is the Albert Pujols 2021 Beauty. Gold Wave refractor. I had another Gold Wave that you guys saw recently, and I really liked the way it looked. And me and the golds love them. And this one's numbered to 50. And what's cool about this card is this card cost, I think it was like $39 or to $50. I can't remember exactly, but it's relevant for tonight's topic because I just purchased another one. Once I find a card that I like, there's not too many that is in the Angels that I really like. So I found this one, and then I go on the hunt for the other variations. So I found another one that was a PSA 10, and it was numbered to 99, and it was the green version. And I bought that one for the same price, give or take $5, as this one, and it's a 10. So it's kind of fun to think, like, which one is more rare? Is it the 10 that's numbered to 99 because the grade makes it more rare? Or is this one more rare because there's only 50 of these that exist and it's not the highest grade of them? So it's just a fun thought process for us to go through these, like, what's more rare? I'm sure there's some math you can do and like multiply this and that and all these equations and go through all the pop reports of every company that's created these. But, I'm not going to do that. So really cool card. And now I have like 4 of these now, and a couple of them are ungraded, different versions. So really going after these. And then I got one more really big pickup. And you guys know I wasn't supposed to pick anything up to the National. I said that on my channel, but hey, when you're a card addict, you're a card addict. And yeah. I held out for quite a while. It was like 11 days in or something. And then once I broke the seal, I was like, oh my gosh, back on. I got this sicko card. And this is an autographed Ernie Banks. And talk about a rare pop report card. I think there's only 1 or 2 graded as a 7, none higher. And I think by PSA as well. You don't need to quote, don't quote me on that. Do your own research. I was trying to do it earlier and I just got sidetracked, and I did it before and I forgot. But it's sick autograph right here. And me and the ballpoint pens. I love the ballpoint pen autographs. I know not everyone's a fan of those, but to me, he probably signed this back in the day, because no one signs on with ballpoint pen anymore for probably the last 10, 15 years. So I consider this an old school autograph, whether it is or not. I guess there's probably no way to tell, but the card itself is incredible. It's a SGC 7 and autograph 8. Autograph grade. I have no idea. It looks like a perfect autograph to me. It's in a really cool spot right over his wiener. I just think it's really cool, and the card's gloriously centered. And I just sold this year my Ernie Banks All-Star card because it was really off-centered, and this one's just cherry. And this was $180. I won at an auction. I think in a 7, I think in a 7 this card would go for a little over 100 anyways. And these things never come perfectly centered. So this thing came up and I go, yeah, I think I bid like 250 something and I got it 180. So whatever, whether that's a good deal or not. I mean, I think it's stunning. And for my collection, I'm an Ernie Banks like super freak fan. So it's perfect for my collection.
Man, that thing is wow. I gotta take a moment to soak that one in. An autographed Ernie Banks. First of all, that's like my favorite subset of all time. Those 58 All-Star cards. And I like how, like you said, the autograph doesn't, some of them, they like stand out so much that it almost detracts from the card. But the autograph's a little more subtle in there in ballpoint pen. Like, man, that's perfect. And the thing, you usually don't see autograph cards that are like so nicely centered, vintage cards, and look that nice, because people usually use the beaters to get signed,
Dude, I thought when I bid on this, I thought it was gonna go for like $400 because I thought maybe Natty C would be like hunt on there.
Exactly.
Like, I'm getting that card. It was like ending at a weird time. Since I live in Hawaii, all the auctions I mainly watch don't end in normal times when I'm going on the card shop, And dude, I didn't even notice the autograph at first. What caught my eye was how perfectly centered and beautiful the card was. Then I noticed the autograph and I was like, dude, that is sick. It's a treasure for my collection. Absolutely never getting rid of that card. There's my pickups.
Before I show a couple quick pickups here, I just want to shout out to Mookie Chilson, League Leaders, Sexton's Kentucky Cardboard, A Collector's Dream, The Card Story, and who else we got? Yeah, there we go. That's it for now. But man, I was surprised anybody was able to pop in here. It's getting late.
I know. I'm in my own world over here. I never get to join anything anymore because it's like 6 hours difference for most people on YouTube. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I work on the weekends. So I'm like, no one even thinks I'm on YouTube anymore, probably.
There's an important basketball game going on right now, the finals. The Nuggets are getting close to closing them out. So maybe a lot of people are up late watching that game too. So.
Oh, yeah, probably.
All right. Well,
not me.
I got a couple red pickups here I want to show. All right. Let me pull up Solo here.
Did you say red pickups?
Red pickups. You'll understand shortly here.
All right.
So I got this one here. This is Tom Brady's first Heritage card, 2002 Topps Heritage. He has 2 in the set, and I had the other one. I needed this one, and I think it goes nicely in that PSA label there.
That's a sick one. And is that a 59 Topps football remake card? I think it's the 50s. The design.
Yeah, you know what? I should know that. I forget. In the chat, I'm sure somebody knows what year is this vintage football set off of.
Yeah, because I have a Hank Aaron and Mike Trout card. Looks just like that. That's a sick card.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, again, it's it's a good card because it's obviously from the first Brady Heritage set that he was in, and but yeah, it's just awesome looking card. It kind of mixes that vintage with the modern, which I like, So that one, and then the other one, this funny one. I saw one of your recent videos where you got an amazing gift from Adam Vintage Sanctuary, and I had bought one of these. I think probably a little before that. I just received it though from PWCC. I always wanted one of these, a Redman 52 Redman, Pee Wee Reese, and I just love it's a PSA 3, but the colors are just, man, look at these colors.
Dude, that thing is sick.
Always wanted one of these. And this one was at a great price in a PWCC auction.
What did you pay? What did you pay for that one?
I'd have to look, but it was like $80, $70, $60.
I was gonna say,
like
I was thinking it'd probably be under $100, and I mean, how insane is that, right? A Pee Wee Reese. I mean, like that is spectacular. It's got the tab on the bottom, so sick.
Yeah, it's just one of the sets that I had no cards from, and I just wanted to have a card from this set here. So this one met looks great in the PSA label there with the color match. I know some people laugh at that, but that's something I actually consider for what grading company I want to buy the card in.
Dude, right. Hey, Matt's on, yeah?
What's that?
Is Matt T8
the card story?
Is it the card story or THA? I can't remember.
THA card story, Matt. Yeah.
Okay. I have a gift from him on my desk right now, and I want to open that thing. I think I should just open it right now.
Absolutely. Go for it, man.
I'm going to grab it right now. Do you have another pickup to show?
Yeah, I could show. I got another card here I can show.
Okay. Show the card. I want to see the card, and then I'm going to open this up right now. I mean, I've been burning. It's been burning a hole on my desk.
Well, I figured, because one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is for me, I'm seeing a big difference in people or the cards in basketball, football versus baseball. As far as, everyone's probably hearing it, how prices are declining across the board pretty much. But there is a huge discrepancy in basketball cards and football cards versus baseball cards as far as like over the last year. Like baseball is down like 15% as an index, in card ladder, but football and basketball are down like 45% as an index. So we're going to talk about that, like maybe why there's a difference in that and how people collect the different sports. But I figured I'd show this one. This is relevant for tonight. This is a card I picked up not recently, earlier in the year. And this is a 2015 select Nikola Jokic, tough name to pronounce, but love this guy, and he might win the championship tonight. It's in the fourth quarter right now. This is a light blue prism rookie card, die cut, beautiful die cut, and it's numbered to 199. So I picked this one up earlier in the year, and a lot of people would probably sell this card right now, but I'm not selling it. I'm going to keep this baby long term. So I think it's probably worth a lot more than I paid for it. So I wanted to show this one tonight. I don't know. Maybe they might not close it out tonight, but it looks like they were up by about 4 points when I checked. So just a beautiful card, man. Beautiful rookie card.
You know what I love about die cut cards is when you open them in packs, because you have one in there because they're like, they're missing corners and stuff. And always in like 2004, there's a bunch of die cuts when I was opening boxes and stuff. I love die cuts. They're super sick.
And they tend to sell for less, which is nice. Like if you're a collector, you want to pick a rookie card up. The die cuts sell for usually less money, and they're rarer usually. So they're just not as popular. So you can get a nice die cut for less money than a regular card.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's exciting. You got a little story to tell too if they win.
Yeah,
makes the card extra special.
Yeah, I just love watching the guy play. I think he's just a great team player. So. We definitely wanted to have I got 2 cards now in the collection, and this one's probably my favorite of his. So what do we got? All
right, dude, let's open it up. Dude, Tyrus is in the chat too.
Okay.
So I was going to do this on my show, but why not just do it right now? And Matt and Tyrus are here. So you guys, out there who are watching this, not live, which is pretty much everybody because it's late. Matt and Tyrus, THA Card Story, we'll tag them. Dude, they're awesome father-son channel. Really fun to watch. And Tyrus is hilarious. Like, when he's on there with his dad, he, like, heckles him and just, like, laughs about things. And he's into Pokemon. And I really enjoy seeing the Pokemon cards that he gets and the things that he's into. So they sent me a gift here. I have no idea what it is. And he's been sending them out to a bunch of guys and the Goonies in the outfield. We have a text thread going. And I had no idea. And he said something was on the way. I have something coming back to you guys, just so you guys know, some cool stuff. So I'm excited. And And this is perfect fitting since you guys are in there. So I'm gonna rip it open, see what we got.
All right. And while you're doing that, I think I jinxed the Nuggets. They're down now. They're down. According to Mookie.
Man,
Mookie Chilson said they're down by there's 2 minutes left and the Heat just went ahead. I always do that, man. I jinx teams. I'll tell
you. Dude, you got to sell that card now.
Yeah, guys, who wants it? No.
Oh man,
here we go.
Here,
what do we got?
Oh, such good packing job. Woo-wee. Oh, this is sick. The painter's tape, so perfect. Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully it doesn't get all I don't get allergies this time. I'm really, really fired up to see what's going on here. Oh, this is sick right here. Dude, no way. That is sick. Dude, I have a different version of this on my wall. This Rookie Cup Mike Trout, numbered to 50. Woo. Yeah, if my eyes were better, a 2021. Dude, I was just looking at this card. Not this exact one. Oh man, gosh. I have another version of this. This must be like the SP version. This is so sick.
That is great.
I mean, this goes so good in my collection. The Rookie Cup. Oh my God. The 1964 Topps design. Gold, number to 50. Thank you, guys. That is special right there. I'm going to send this in. I'm going to get it graded. And this is going in my collection for life right here. Oh my God.
It's already, man. It's all ready to be graded. It's already in the card saver. It's ready to go.
Wow. Thank you, guys. This is awesome. Yeah, the image variation. Dude, you nailed it. That is insane. Hold on. I'm going to be right back. It's right here. I got the other one in here. I was literally just looking at it.
Nuggets up one. Nuggets up one.
Okay. Hopefully they'll come. Oh, yeah, this is live, so we can cruise. Oh, my gosh. Dude, Matt, Tyrus. That's pretty sick. That's really, really sick. Oh, my gosh. Where is it? I want to put it side by side. Oh, there it is. Look at that.
Oh, man.
Dude, that is sick. I mean, you guys knocked it out of the park. Grand slam right there. That is so cool. I got the ghetto version and the improved version. Wow. Thank you, guys. Really, really spectacular gift. This community is just outrageous. Outrageous.
Did you have any clue that, like, when you jumped on YouTube that it was like this?
No.
I had no idea.
I had no idea. That was on my mind. The national coming up, I'm probably gonna be balling like a schoolboy when I see everybody. Like, it's gonna mean so much to me being in this hobby by myself for decades on decades on decades, and now in it with fellow people who think like me. It's just awesome. Oh yeah, thank you, guys.
That is great.
Thank you.
Matt and Tyrus, you guys are they going to the national? Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think Tyrus is going too. Yeah, Matt, Tyrus going too. I think so. So that'll be sick. All right, well, let's jam into it, man. I can look at this for the next 2 hours, but keep it aside. Keep it in my mind.
So, all right. So let me start with this. I had let me pull this up real quick. This is let's see, get that card ladder. So I have card ladder here. I wanted to show. 1 sec. There we go. All right. So real quick, just I wanted to get your opinion on this too, Dylan, and I'll give you mine. But I think it goes with the topic that we wanted to talk about. So basically, over the last year, I mean, obviously, the economy plays a huge role in sports cards prices, right? So everything's pretty much down, almost everything. But if you look here, like Card Ladder has these indexes, the baseball index, and that's a mix of modern, ultra modern, vintage. So it's baseball as a whole throughout history, and that's down 16% over the last year, which, as you can see, is actually better than most of these, but basketball and football are down 45% over the last year. And that's even if you go back 2 years, I mean, you're talking another 45%. So it's like they are just cratering basketball and football cards as a whole, you know, as an index. So what is your opinion on as far as, do you think?
Well, is there? I noticed on there is soccer down that much as well.
Yep.
And like AFC fighting, or I can just imagine those other ones being down that much too.
Yeah, UFC.
Yeah, UFC 50%. Fighting, and then what's that other 50? Yeah, what's that one?
Soccer, racing, golf, ultra moderns down 50%. Ultra modern tennis is down 73%.
I mean, look, to me, I'm gonna sound arrogant, but I'm not trying to be. It was so obvious during the pandemic that stuff was just out of control. I would go to my local card shows over here in Hawaii, and like I said, there was like 7 tables back then, and 5 of them were basketball, football, weird UFC stuff, ultra modern, all that stuff. And it was like a stock exchange. Guys were just hustling and just like so fired up. It was a really cool atmosphere. People were just frothing, just building it up. And me, I'm like, I was at the vintage tables, no one around, like with my buddy, my old 2 buddies, and we're just talking. I'd walk around and talk to everybody, but it was just a froth. It was just a buildup, and everyone thinks that basketball is going to catch up to baseball cards. Football is going to catch up to baseball cards. Soccer is the next big thing. Everyone wants the next big thing, just like investing in stocks. I hate to say those analogies because they're 2 different things, but in all reality, everything's an investment in some sort of fashion. Even marrying your wife is an investment in time and your heart and emotions. Everything's an investment. Everything is. So when I was watching that, I was just fascinated seeing these guys buy these cards, and I knew they were just, and obviously the overprinting thing had to do with it, but to me it was more of just the froth and the hype and the I don't want to miss out. And if you've been in the hobby long enough, you know not to chase those things. You just don't get involved in that. You just go after what you really believe in and what you really love, what you love to collect. And during that time, I was buying vintage cards and no one was touching them. I bet you if you looked at the pandemic, and in the middle of the pandemic, when all those basketball cards were shooting up and all the ultra modern, even baseball, ultra modern, everything was shooting up, but basketball in particular was massive over here. The vintage hadn't moved yet. No, none of it. Not even the higher end, not even the Mantles and the Hank Aaron. They hadn't caught up yet. Then at the end of the pandemic is when that's the last like 3 or 4 months of the big push in cards. That's when the vintage stuff finally took off. But it wasn't all of it, and it was only a small amount. So when I see those down 50%, look, I mean, I bet you it's really overweighted with the fact that you had 10,000 of the same card being graded. So that probably leverages the index a lot. And then you got Michael Jordan's cards going to the moon. That probably pulled down the whole market a whole bunch. I bet you if you really dove into it and you went into after certain cards, I bet you they're not down as drastic as some. But I mean, either way, it looked really obvious to a guy who's been collecting cards my entire life, never taken a break. It was super obvious what was going to happen and what was going on. So it may sound cocky, but I wasn't betting against it. So I wasn't a short selling it. I was just like fascinated with the whole thing. And I loved it because everyone was getting into collecting again. And it was great for the hobby.
Well, I think you and I know we both agree, and most people do that I talk to and know in the hobby, that there's no right way to collect. There's no, you could collect however you want. But for me, again, I'm just one guy making observations, but it seems to me that broadly speaking, there's always going to be, exclusions and people that say, oh, that's not how I do it. But I would say broadly speaking, number one, there's way more baseball collectors, even now, people that collect baseball cards. I don't know what the numbers are, but it sure seems to me that there's a large number of baseball card collectors as opposed to basketball and football still. Now I collect all three sports, so I'm not biased. I love all the cards. I collect football, basketball, and baseball. But baseball has just such a long history compared to basketball and football in cards that I think that has a large part to do with it. And who knows, like maybe football and basketball will get there someday as time goes on. But to me, it seems like, broadly speaking, the people that I see that collect basketball and football, they collect a little differently than a lot of the people that collect baseball. Meaning, I see most of the people that collect basketball and football that I see now, they're only going after like serial numbered, low pop, rare cards. They won't even look at a base card. They want nothing to do with base cards, modern or even like vintage or 90s era. They want the stuff other people don't have, right? Everyone's chasing like, I want a card that no one has. I want a card that you don't see a lot. Whereas some of that goes on in baseball, obviously, but I think there's a lot more baseball collectors that love base cards. Whether it be a Mickey Mantle base card from the 60s or a Ken Griffey Jr. base card from the 80s, 89 or 90s. I don't see as much of that with basketball and football. So I don't know if that might be a part of it, where there's just not enough people that collect basketball and football heavily still to keep that market up like baseball has been able. Baseball has such a more secure foundation of collectors. I feel like that's probably a big part of why baseball has held up better than basketball and football throughout this decline in prices. So again, there's no right or wrong way to collect, but it just seems like, all right, so here's the next question I wanted to pose. Is there a natural evolution? Now you are maybe not in this group, right? Because you don't care what the pops are on a lot of these vintage cards, right? If you love a card, you want a nice copy of it. You don't care how many other people have it. If anything, you seem like you're more attracted to those cards that are more iconic and you've seen a lot. Whereas, you get a lot of the other collectors that I see now that are on the other end of that. They only want the cards that you never see because I don't know if they feel like it's a better investment or they just like to collect those more. I'm not sure. But is there a natural evolution with many people where you start collecting and you collect base cards and then you move on to, you get more and more maybe obscure, but also like more rare cards. You start to see cards because you look at some of the guys on YouTube, that we follow, John Mangini, Blue Jacket 66, guys who have been collecting a long, long, long time. I feel like maybe I'm wrong on this, but they are now more motivated. They go after the rare stuff, the food and beverage, the obscure, because they've kind of, not that they don't love the base cards anymore, but they've been down that road. Like maybe they're always looking for the next thing. And maybe that's the last step in this. I don't know. There's never a last step, but let me know what you think on that, as far as like the evolution, and maybe some of these people that came in the hobby, they're just like an expedited evolution. They came in and collected base cards for 6 months, and then they moved on to serial number. Now they're moving on to like only number to 10, and it seems like they're just like going through it rapidly, where a normal collector might do that over a period of like 40 years. I don't know. What do you think on that?
All right. Well, I love that. I love that question. First, real fast, I want to touch on that last one. I think a lot of people are thinking that basketball is gonna, just because basketball is more popular than baseball, or football is more popular than baseball and all the sports, and soccer is going to become more popular. Baseball is played by more kids in this country than anywhere, any other sport, I believe. And it's an easy sport for everyone to play. So to keep on that last one, it's like everyone thinks baseball is just dying a slow death. It's not dying a slow death. It's not going anywhere. They are revamping the way the game is played. I have talked to many people who never watched baseball before, and they're pretty excited about watching it this year and genuinely like going, man, it's a better game today and more exciting. So there's my 2 cents really fast on that. But as far as a collector, do we change? Do we get older? Go to the more rare stuff? I think that is an individual deal. I could totally see myself collecting Topps cards for the rest of my life and never buying another Topps card. I can totally do that. Am I going to do that? Of course not. I'm going to find other cards randomly here and there. You know, I love the Goudies. I just happen to have all my cards out right now. I'm reordering. I love the T206 cards. There's something about 100-year-old card. You know, I love these cards. The T205.
Yeah, because just real quick, I wanted to read a couple comments. So Sexton's Kentucky Cardboard, they have no T206. He's talking about baseball, basketball, and football. No Gaudi, no tobacco or candy cards. That's the vintage part that makes baseball so strong. Great. That's a great point.
Yeah, yep. Great point. Absolutely. I mean, there's just I love these old sets. There's just something about them as a kid when I was growing up. Seeing these was only in magazines, only on the covers of like that album you see up there. You know, you'd see them randomly. So I'm always going to buy these randomly, but I don't see myself like trying to get the entire set of, you know, of the Goudies and going down that rabbit hole. And more in particular, going on that path that John Mangini went on and is on, and Rick, Vintage Oddball, and going for these, you know, the black and white cards and the strip cards. It's not my thing. And will it be one day? You know, it's impossible to tell where my collecting is going to go. And a lot of these guys, most of these guys have been to millions of card shows. Whereas I stopped going to card shows after, you know, when I was going to Frankensons for like 10 years, I wasn't going to the vintage tables. I'd walk by them and look at them, but I wasn't talking to the dealers. I was buying wax at that point. I was buying my vintage cards on eBay, and I was just buying Topps. And so maybe going to these card shows and going to the National might change my entire opinion about everything. Seeing these cards in the flesh and holding them, looking at them. But I kind of see myself, I'm into colors. And like Orlando's on here. I think he's still on here. His collection of those Goodwin champions, that's a collect. Those are the cards that, to me, I am drawn to, and they're not like obscure in my mind. I've always known of them. They're beautiful artwork. They're not cut out of magazines. They were, you know, to me, they were like in packs, even though I think they came in, I'm not really sure, but I'm sure they came with tobacco products. But I could see myself going down that path. But I really love Topps. I could collect Topps the rest of my life. I think there's just a video that I'm still in the middle of watching that Drew put on a Vintage Legacy, and he was at a friend's house that had collected Topps cards only his whole life, and he has an entire room of just Topps cards. And I paused it because I really wanted to focus, and I wasn't able to focus. And the guy only collected Topps cards his whole life, and the room looks absolutely spectacular. So there is no wrong way to collect, like you said. And I might never go down those weird rabbit holes. I don't need a card from every set. I just, when I see a card, I just, if I like it, I buy it, you know, or if I can.
Well, I mean, it's like, for example, there's a lot of Michael Jordan collectors who, you know, I've heard them say it, and this is not all Michael Jordan collectors, but a large portion that I've heard, they don't even have the 86 Fleer Jordan in any grade. And the reason is because I can always get that. There's too many of them out there. It's too easy of a card to get. There's no challenge. You know, and they're chasing, you know, the inserts that are numbered to 10 or 50 or 100, or, you know, that there's pop sixes of, you know, those are the cards they want of Jordan. There's just a big wave of that going on, which, you know, that's fine. Everyone collects how they want to collect, and it's, you know, it's obviously a fun chase. But I do think for me, there is something to be said, especially if you're a player collector. For me, I wouldn't feel like my collection of a player is complete unless if I don't have some of the iconic cards too, right? Like, yeah, I want to have, you know, some of these rare cards because it's cool. It's cool to know, like, man, that was a card I chased for years and I got it, and it's a card that not every whatever collector has in their collection. But it's also cool. Like if you're a Griffey collector, it's cool to have the 89 upper deck. I know there's a million of them, but that's the way I look at it. I know not everyone does. And actually I might be in the minority now. I feel like the hobby is so skewed now towards chasing the rare cards that a lot of these base cards, even the iconic ones, I think that's a big reason why they're declining big time in price, is because people aren't chasing them. People, there is no chase, but they don't want to own them as much as they want to own some of these other cards, even if they're a lot less expensive too. So it's just interesting to me. And I feel like definitely basketball and football, there's more of that rare chase than there is in baseball overall. So who knows, maybe that's some of the equation there as far as why those sports have really come down big time. And look, let's face it, vintage and pre-war, they're holding up baseball big time too, right? Because modern baseball and ultra modern baseball has taken a big dip too. So it's just, those are the things that's interesting. The next thing I want to ask you is about pop reports, as far as like population reports, as far as like vintage goes versus modern. Like one of the guys you may have heard of, Sports Card Investor, he made a big trade, right, that caused a lot of chaos. And I know we don't care what anyone does with their money or what they trade. It's all entertainment, right, for us. So but I found it interesting. I want to ask you about this. One of his reasons why he wanted to trade his he had a Mickey Mantle rookie and Babe Ruth Gaudies from 33 Gaudies, is that he called them high population vintage, meaning that there's like thousands of those cards out there. One of the things I thought to mention here is, I think, you let me know what you think. I think the population reports for a lot of these vintage cards are way higher than they actually in reality are. You know how many people have cracked Gaudi Ruths and tried to resend them in and crack Mantle rookies, trying to turn a 3 into a 4 or crossing over, stuff like that. I think the population reports are really inflated in a lot of those iconic vintage cards. So I actually don't think there are as many as people might think on if you look at those population reports. But even so, there's such a demand for these cards. There is such a demand that there'll always be for these cards that, yeah, you could trade for a pop 10 modern card of a guy, but there's I don't think it's equivalent. I really don't. I just feel like it's two apples and oranges comparing population of these Mantle rookies and stuff. And the third point, you can go after this, is they're just looking at it like, a lot of these people look at it like, oh, there's there's 300 fives of the Mantle rookie, right? But how many of those fives are centered? How many of those fives look good? The amount of, let's say there's 7,000 Gaudi Ruths, like they said, across the 4, right? How many of those actually like are attractive looking cards, have good eye appeal for the grade? I don't think that many, so you can't look at it like just a number either. But I'll let you go on that too. What do you think?
You nailed it. I mean, that was the point I was going to make. And that's what I wanted to scream at listening to Jeff's show. Like it just hit the concept of the pop report and vintage cards. If you've been collecting cards, there's millions of, I don't millions, but I never looked at the pop reports because I know these things were mass produced. Like, 59 Clemente, there's lots of 59 Clementes. The whole point is now, before YouTube, I was just collecting the grade. I was just like 7s, but I wasn't collecting 7s because the pop was lower. I was just buying them because they looked pack fresh and I didn't really know better. And I just buying 7s. Once YouTube came around and then my wife started like getting involved and like, dude, that thing's so far off center. That thing's weird looking. And then YouTube ingrained it in me and I started, and it was an influence of a lot of people, and it wasn't just one thing, and I wasn't just like sold right away. But I do realize that centered cards are rare. They are not common in almost some are more common than others. You have certain cards that are easier to find centered, and then you have some cards that are really, really hard to find centered. But for the most part, all vintage is really hard to find centered. Across the board. So I think the pop report, if you really broke it down, if you did it off centering, you're talking 1 in 1,000 might probably look really, really good to the eye. So the pop report to me is just it's not even worth looking at. If you're a high end collector and you're buying PSA 9s and 10s, you better look at that 9 and make sure it's dead centered if you want that thing to be worth money in the future, in my opinion, because those things could have been trimmed. They could have been anything. So you better have a one that looks really dang good. My opinion is that these low grade, high IPLs have been preaching it for like a year and a half or year and like 3 months now since I made the transition. They are going to be worth a lot more in the future than the other ones that aren't. You can get a 4 in like a Clemente or any one of my cards. You can get a 4 in this, you know, for the same price, perfectly centered or uncentered. So right now, so look for the ones that are perfect because they're not common. They're so hard to come by. You can look for ages for some cards and you can't find them centered. The 65 Clemente is like impossible. You find that thing centered without a tilt on it. I don't care if the thing's a 1. I want to own it. It's impossible. The Reggie Jackson rookie card, find that thing centered. I mean, I want 100 of them. I love that card. So I'm going to buy all the centered I can probably find. I can't find them. I look all the time. I look at every Reggie Jackson that's listed. Now I could, if I had, $100,000 and buy a 9, that's perfect. Sure. But that's not the game. That's not where I'm living. I don't have that kind of money. But I think a good looking 4, perfectly centered, is a rare card. And it is not easy to find. So that's where you find the rarity. And that's what he wasn't touching on. Pop reports, come on. He's been using pop reports forever on these modern stuff. There's just the pop reports, I just can't stand them. No, I just don't. I don't understand them.
And honestly, that's the trouble with being like one of those big YouTube influencers like he is, where I think when he probably started this whole thing, I don't think he thought it would ever get to be where it is, as far as like everything he does is scrutinized, and like we're doing here. I could just tell, right? Like, I don't know this for a fact, but he took so much heat for that trade. And again, it's his stuff. He can do whatever he wants, but we're here to, we'll give our opinions. That's what we're part of what we're here for. But the next video, it showed him at a card show and he made a trade for a 56 mantle, right? Because I think he was I got to get back on the vintage train.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he do whatever you want. But my opinion, the 56 mantle, he went for the 8, right? And it's off-centered.
I saw that too. And I was like, dude, he doesn't get it yet.
You don't get it. Like, yeah. And you know what? That's okay. And maybe he doesn't care about centering, but he's an investor. Yeah. It probably would have been a better investment to go for a better eye appeal. He's using the same approach that he uses for modern cards and chasing grades. And yeah. I think
the best examples to really iterate the whole off-center stuff, if you're a collector, you're buying, you don't care about the future value of your cards, and most likely any card you're buying that are off-centered 4s, you're paying like $50 for like a Hank Aaron to $100. It's not going to go down to $20 ever again. I really don't think it ever will. But will it go up to $300 or $400? I don't think so, based off the IPL. So I don't think there's a wrong way to do it, but I think there's a right way to do it. And if you want to have your cards be worth more money in the future, you really spend time picking the correct one, and you can put your money to work and collect the card instead of just like getting the card just to own it. Get the card that you want to look at on your wall, and that will be, in my opinion, will be worth a lot more in the future, because people will realize that card's not common to be centered. And if you're John Wade Boggs fan, you watch his top 10 sales on eBay every week or month when he puts them out. Every month, I think it is. Those things blow my mind. These guys are spending, like Jeff, $16,000 on a PSA 8 that's not even as good looking as a PSA 6 or a 4 that's centered. It just is off-centered, and they're just buying them because the grade says it. And I think that is a fool's trap, and that's just chasing. And I think that the day will come where there'll be a day of reckoning. Not to say that those are going to be cut in half or anything, but I think buying cheaper cards, spending $200 instead of $2,000, is a better investment, because the $200 isn't going to go down. The worst it can go, it goes to 0, you lose $200. can go up to $1,000 because it's such a rare, perfect looking card. So I'm really on that train, and I'll ride that thing. I'll ride and die with it. I really, truly believe in it. And I've been in this hobby for a long time. I could be dead wrong, and all my centered stuff's worthless, but I don't see it that way. I have sold, I'm selling all my stuff that I just don't really appreciate anymore on that aspect. So I went off on that, but
No,
I'm just really passionate about it. I'm fired up about it.
I just find it interesting because, yeah, it just kind of hit me the other day when it was like, I was listening to some other podcasts, YouTube channels and stuff. And a lot of, some of it was basketball and football. And it's like, it just hit me how like over and over, I just hear them like, I only want the cards that are, that no one else has, right? Like I want cards that no one else has. And part of me was like, yeah, I get that. I have a little of that too. Like, but that, not only that, like, I don't want to only collect that way, like only chase cards that no one else has. I kind of like having cards that I feel like I'm now part of a group, right? Like, hey, I have the 89 Upper Deck Griffey, or I have the 56 Mantle or whatever, where there's a lot of people who have those cards. And I kind of like that. It's not a card that only I have, right? That's kind of something lonely about that, right?
Totally.
Maybe not, but
for sure.
Yeah, like it's cool. And then it's like, I think I like a little of both. I think I like to collect rare stuff. Yes, I get that, but I also like to get some of those iconic cards that I don't care how many there are of. I just like to look at them and think that, hey, that's cool. I got one of these, and anyone can get them. But yeah, and I think the last point too is on grading, right? So like we talk about real rarity versus manufactured rarity by the card companies with serial numbered cards and parallels and stuff like that. But also
by the grading company.
By the grading company, yeah. So
that's a manufactured rarity as well.
The Ricky Henderson rookie, right? So there's hundreds of thousands of those, right? I don't even know how many, right? But there's like 28 PSA 10s, and that card sells for $100,000 plus. That's a perfect example. That PSA 10 is a rare grade, right? Not the card, but the grade. So I get that. I do some of that. I do a lot of that actually. Not as much anymore. I'm getting a little away from that. Maybe that's part of the influence of everything I'm watching and so forth. Maybe a little bit of an evolution in me, but I still like a nice PSA 10, especially if it's a card that's, mass produced. I do get it. Like I do some of that. I want to have something a little special maybe. But yeah, not only that, I like to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I don't know, that I thought it was an interesting topic, and we'll have a lot more people that watch this after the live and would be interested to see, like, in the comments, their thoughts on any of this stuff, how they collect, and rarity versus manufactured rarity versus true rarity. I think that's a cool thing to kind of think about.
Yeah, I want to make it clear to everyone, like I always have that, like, these are always our opinions, and especially this episode, because there's no facts. Like I'm not a mathematician. I can't like go and see like if this card's numbered to 50 and it's a 9 versus a 10 and this and that. I don't know which one's more rare and how many centered vintage cards there are. These are all opinions, and I'm willing to share mine. And if you think I'm dead wrong, it's cool. It's fine. I mean, I'm open with myself, letting that out of the bag and talking about it. And look, I changed my opinion. I was buying 7s and 8s blind on the pit for a decade.
That's how I started.
Not even looking at the card, just like
I would literally go, all right, what card do I want? All right, I want the the 61 Mantle. I would go to eBay and I would type in 61 Mantle PSA 6.
Lowest price, lowest price.
That's how I started out. And then I wouldn't even go back on eBay for a few months, and I'd just pop on when I wanted the next one and buy the best one, the lowest price in the PSA 6, because that was like, oh, I could afford PSA 6s for these cards back then.
I love it because it's given me an opportunity to get rid of a lot of my cards, because there's only a finite number of us that are actually on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram where we are actually connecting with other collectors. I mean, I was in it for 40 years by myself, and I'm a huge baseball card collector. And that goes to show how little amount of us are on there. We all think we're like influencing, even Jeff. Like, are we really influencing anyone? We're only influencing the people that watch our show. There's hundreds of thousands of people at home with giant collections that have no idea any of this talk is going on and don't know any of this, and they just collect their own thing, and just like I did for all those years. So it's really fun to like discuss this and to change your opinions and to change your minds, because I would have just kept buying 7s and 8s, and maybe one day all the 7s and 8s are like through the roof and I made the worst decision of my life. But when I look at my collection, it's still going to be the best decision I ever made, because looking at my wall, they all look like they were supposed to look like when Topps originally designed them, centered, and how they really wanted the card to come out and printed, whether they printed correctly or not. That's how I want my cards to look. And that's what my wife has taught me. My wife prints postcards. We sell postcards, we sell stickers, we sell other products, and we get a bunch of postcards coming in when she gets them made. And when they're off centered, I wish I had some. When they're off centered, we ship them back.
Yeah.
And they're postcards. So and she's a designer, so I really have my wife has influenced me more than even YouTube, but it was YouTube that brought up that conversation, and it made her aware of my card collection. Even though she saw it every day on my wall, I didn't talk about it. It was just me and my wall. But now that I'm on YouTube, she knows all about it. I force it down her throat now. So it's fun stuff, man. It's fun to talk about this stuff.
For fun, I mean, I do want to say again, I never tell anyone how to collect, but I'll give my opinion on as far as like what I've found. The most fun thing for me is finding, because I like collecting players. I like being a player collector. Finding a player you connect with from different eras too, like, because like, for example, I've had so much, exactly, with Mike Trout. I've had so much, I mean, I spent a lot of time collecting Mickey Mantle, going through that vintage era. I still do. Larry Bird takes me through the 80s and up to like 92 for playing years. And then obviously you could do tons of stuff after their playing years too. But if you're just looking at playing years, and then I look at Tom Brady takes me all the way from 2000 to basically last year or this year. And then I just, really got heavy into collecting Pedro Martinez. And now I'm having some fun collecting, some of these 90s inserts, essential credentials, precious metal gems. So some of that like chase of rarity that we're talking about, it is fun. But I would never want to only collect in one of those lanes at this point. I like being well-rounded. I just feel like it's fun because you get to, because like I watch other people's channels, and if they collect, like before I started doing Pedro through the late 90s, I would watch like some of these like 90s inserts channels, and I would kind of get jealous. I'd be like, man, that sounds like a lot of fun to learn about the different sets and find out what the chase cards are, or even I collect some of the base cards too, but just it's a great way to learn. But for me, it's like I got to connect to that player. Like I just have to find a player that I connect with somehow, whether I was a fan of them or just to kind of find a way to make it like something that I really enjoy. And then through that, you learn about all the different cards from the different sets in those eras. So it's something if anyone ever asked my advice on like how to keep it fun, to try to not just be in one lane, I found like being in multiple lanes and multiple eras is actually pretty fun. And it actually makes you way more knowledgeable overall about the card hobby and not kind of like a one-trick pony, which I like being well-rounded in certain things. And it's definitely helped me become, I'll never be an expert. It's hard to ever be in cards, but I've definitely learned a lot through being a player collector in all these different years. So I definitely wanted to throw that out too, because that I found like that has been my sweet spot, just having like 4 players that I just go after that are in different eras. It's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you can't. Yeah, the player collector thing's new for me, and it's not that I haven't loved players, but I never really dove into it until YouTube, and it is a really fun thing to do. I mean, Matt and Tyrus are like, I think they're the ultimate player collector I've ever seen. Like, I mean, they're out of control. I mean, Hank Aaron's up the wazoo. It's incredible the stuff they find. It's really, this hobby is an endless pit of joy, because you can go any route. If you have $100 in your bank account, you could have just as many cards as someone who has $1,000 in their bank account. You can have so much fun with this. You don't need to. You could buy base cards and have the best time of your life. There is no wrong way to do this unless you're only doing it for money. That's the only wrong way. If you're doing it to only do it for money, that's the only wrong way. There's always a combo there going, or at least just do it for fun.
Yeah, I've said this before, but like there's way better, easier and better ways to make money than cards.
Totally. Just buy an Apple stock or
I
anything.
never understood like when I first started paying attention, like, you know, to YouTube channels about sports cards early 2021. I was just like, some of these people, I'm like, even now, like then, yeah, they were making money, but I'm just like, long term, because cards is not the way to make money. Like it's a side potential, like way down the road, maybe side benefit. But if that's the reason you're doing it, it's like, man, do you know how many other ways you can make money that's way easier and better than cards? if you don't like cards, you know, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you don't like cards, it just doesn't make any sense.
Or just are kind of neutral about it. You know, you don't have a deep interest and a love for sports too. I think, you know, the sport that you're collecting, if you're collecting baseball cards, ideally it would be nice if you loved baseball too.
I mean, ideally, but look, I could go on the fence on that. I am a huge card collector, and you don't have to love the sport itself. Even though I love baseball now, there was a good 10-year run where I didn't even watch baseball. I didn't care, but I still loved baseball cards because you
love baseball history. You love the history of baseball.
Yes, but I didn't when I was younger. It was more I just and now I love history. The last like 20 years of reading books, I love history. But that's a whole nother podcast.
And that is my last quick point. I'll let you go. That's it. We're almost at the hour mark. I had that thought too. Like when I heard all this talk about like, you know, because the conversation when it was like Jeff's trade and high population vintage versus it kind of shook out to like who's are the people that, you know, the people that are going to be around in 20, 30 years, are they going to want Mickey Mantle cards as much or Babe Ruth cards as they do right now? And that age-old question that you always hear, right? And it was like, it's honestly the players kind of just it becomes about the cards, right? It's like the hobby loves Mickey Mantle cards, whether you watch them play or not, or watch Babe Ruth play. It's like once you get in the hobby, the cards, it's about the cards more than like, did you watch them play? It's like the history of the cards, and that's always going to be the case. Not all sports fans are going to become card collectors. I think that's completely overblown right now as far as what people are thinking. Like, you know, all these sports fans are going to all of a sudden want to collect cards. I feel like it's not going to be as many as you think. It's just it's a hard cross to make. So I just think, once you get in the hobby, it really doesn't matter if you watch them play or when they played. It's like they have a history in the hobby, which is the most important thing. Mickey Mantle is known for his card, his 52 Topps card, more than anything else, more than anything he ever did. And that's going to be the same case with other cards too. Even cards that are in like the 90s now, they're taking on a life of their own more than even the player. So that was a thought I had too. But again, let's not go down too many roads.
Well said. That makes sense to me. The card is really important. Yeah. I mean, just something about it.
It's about how important they are in this hobby more so than how important they were or how many people watch them play, you know, in their sport. So
agreed.
All right. And then last comment here, cards are like life insurance. Let's show this. Cards are like life insurance. I don't benefit financially from either personally. There you go. The card story. Great. That's
totally. When we died, someone else gets a benefit. So really doesn't matter anyways, right? Unless you plan on selling them all one day, you know, but it really doesn't matter.
Guys, not for sale. Not for sale. Let's end it with
did he win or did he lose?
He won. He did it.
Oh, sick.
Champion.
That's great.
Champion.
Oh, that's so cool. What a cool story. And we were on and you showed that card.
Sports card investor would get rid of this card tomorrow, not me.
Tomorrow. He's got to sell it. The hype's over. That guy's missed every hype. He's done the wrong thing every single time on the hype. Like, dude, I mean, whatever you know, just like in most things, like what everyone else is doing, do the opposite and you'll probably be better off. So that's kind of how
I think he's taken too much. Don't be
a sheep.
Talked with Marshall Fogel too much. I think on his whole, he only collects PSA 8s and above type thing.
Yeah. Marshall Fogel got lucky and had the money. He's a different breed than anyone else. It's not that hard to buy 10s if you have $10 million.
Yeah.
So,
I off-centered 8s and 9. All right, guys. This was Dylan, man. I always enjoy talking with you, man. I appreciate the time. And guys, thank you. Thank you for the people that were in the live chat. Thank you for the people who will watch and listen to this on YouTube and podcasts in the coming days here. And that's it, guys. Another one in the books. Dylan, I'll talk to you soon, man.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Later.